Welcome back to the JMach podcast, where we are combating veteran suicide one story, one conversation at a time. And I'm your host, JMach. Remember, your mental health matters and you're not alone. Don't hesitate to reach out and pick up your phone and call your friends or family, or head over to jmachpodcast.org to stay connected and get on our social medias. Now enjoy the show. All right, Christopher Reeves, thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to learning all about you, your story, and your journey to where you're at, all the way to the legacy of choice, the legacy leader, and the legacy defined. So you're an author now, huh?
I am an author. I went from not being able to read or write very well to being told that I have a learning disability that kind of gave me a label of I don't have to try, to realizing I wanted more with my life, and what it would take for me to do that was overcome some of those insecurities, those fears, those labels, those limitations that I've created for myself based off what other people told me I could be.
I can't wait to dive into how you've been able to defeat those titles and limitations that have been put on you, whether it's by yourself or others. First, let's start off. How are you doing today?
How am I doing today? That's a very great question. It's also a very loaded question. I think a lot of people go very easily into the I'm doing good because that's what they tell themselves every day that they have to wake up. I am a ball of emotions. I am very excited because I get an opportunity to share a moment with a friend, with a peer that is striving for the same thing to help other people. I'm also very scared because my next moment's not promised, but I get this opportunity and I don't want to mess it up. The fear of a responsibility and everything is just so exciting, yet so scary. I live in this teeter-totter moment.
For sure. That was a very poetic answer. But can you really tell me how you're actually doing?
I'm doing great. I'm also doing very bad.
What are you going through right now that makes you think you're doing bad?
What am I going through? Well, I would say that I am not living up to the expectations that I had set for myself at this point. So that in the back of my mind, my subconscious is kicking me you need to do more. You need to be louder, be more exciting, to do more.
As a good friend of mine, just kidding, I don't know the man, Jocko, the Navy SEAL, when people come to him with challenges or problems, he'll respond good. So that's what I want to do to you. Good. Oh. Because you just identified something that you need to work on and how you can improve it to improve your overall mental health, physical health, overall well-being.
I agree.
So good.
That's why I'm excited. When I know that there's an opportunity to do more, I'm yes, that's what it was always about. That's why I love fitness so much, is there's never an end. There's always, I could do another rep. I could go a little bit slower. I could squeeze a little bit more. I could do more weight. I could do something just to make that small increment of improvement. How could it be a little bit more fulfilling to my own ambitions?
So how did you get here? And I'm asking, how was your childhood?
My childhood. Depending on what stage of my life, I could give you a different answer.
Let's talk about from being a child to your earliest memories and end it right at high school.
Well, I think that I would have to say it's the perspective of which I view my past as. That's the difference that I'm talking about when I say how I could tell you about my life as a child to where I am now. Now I would say I'm very blessed. I had a great childhood that taught me a lot. But if we would have gone back 10 years ago, I would have told you I had a shitty childhood, that I didn't get the attention from my dad that I wanted, that my parents were never around and I spent most of my time with my babysitters and I was just such a victim. But now as I look at it from where I sit now, I was blessed. I was blessed to have a dad that worked his ass off so I could have amazing experiences. Had a mom that did the same thing, but was also very involved. I had a great mentors and scouts that taught me amazing stuff. I had the opportunity to play basketball and travel all over the United States to go play it. Like, my perspective of life has shifted from being a victim to being grateful.
See, that's a great point, and nobody's ever quite answered it like that, right? Because honestly, I'm looking for that victim mindset of how your childhood was, not because I want you to be a victim and stay a victim, but because I want to show other people that who may be stuck in the victim mindset, may not even know they're in the victim mindset, or just other people talking about their childhood who has had struggles where it took me a long time to be able to recognize that I could say I had a great childhood and I got fucked up from the things that happened through it, right?
Right.
Before I'd be like, I don't know which one to choose because I don't want to talk bad about my parents or family or XYZ, but that shit fucked me up and made me in the way I am today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really politically answered that, right? So right now, I want to hear about the victim mindset, how you would used to view your childhood, to show our listeners, your followers, whoever hears this, that, yeah, you can come from this and turn into an author, to have your own podcast, to have your own amazing house with its own studio.
Right.
So give me that victim shit.
That victim shit. Well, my dad wasn't there. He was, but he wasn't there. He worked as a power plant operator. And in fact, his dad was a survivor of the Great Depression. Didn't have the best relationship with my dad, had him at a young stage or at an older stage in his life. So when my dad was born, he was old. It was his second marriage. His first marriage, he found his wife in bed with his best friend, almost killed them both. That made him hate guns, which then passed those insecurities onto my dad. Not only did my grandfather Reeves survive the Great Depression, he also survived a cheating spouse, a cheating best friend. Talk about insecurities and stability being just shattered. And that example was passed over to my dad. He lived in fear. He lived not knowing if the next moment was going to be great. And then he passed that on to me by being removed, by staying at work all the time, not being there because he didn't feel like he was a qualified father. But what he was qualified at was going to work. So that made me feel abandoned. I didn't understand it until I became a dad, until I got older and realized that I have to provide these things for my family so they can have stability. But that childhood wound of not being good enough, about being abandoned, it drove me to always trying to be better, to do more. And in a way, I used that to create an identity that I wasn't good enough. And someday I might be good enough if I just do enough, if I just work a little bit harder. Those things help me succeed in sports. They help me become a bodybuilder. They help me be a great manager. They help me be a great corporate person. But it also robbed me of my self-dignity. It also created that victim side inside of me.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that right now you currently don't feel like you're doing enough, that you could be louder and being out there, right? How much of that is actually still the trauma that has been passed on from your dad and his dad, that you're not enough, that you always got to do more before you start to recognize, like, man, I'm more than enough and I'm doing enough?
How much of that? I would say it's all that. It is every bit of that. It's a part of me. And it's a part of me that I have accepted, that I can look in the mirror and I identify and be like, hey, look, that part of you is showing up. It's time to assess. What are the things that we have done to prove that we are doing a good job and we are on trajectory? Because as much as I would love to say we need to eliminate the victim mentality, it's just like the black part and the yin and the yang, or the white part, depending on the perspective of how we utilize it. It's a warning system, a recognition system. Being a victim is the part of our being that we're not living up to. And if we stop looking at it in the sense of, oh, shame me, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, it's, oh, time to make that assessment. What are the things that we have done, the actions we've taken, the words that we've said, are they aligning with the person that we want to be remembered as? Are we aligning our actions? And then we have the ability to go back and assess. Well, I spoke to this many people. I did this thing. This bad situation popped up. Someone cut me off. I didn't speed up, cut them off, cause an accident. I was able to assess it and recognize, oh, I'm acting out of character. I need to let that guy go because he's more of a danger to himself and everybody else than it is for me to be a responsibility to try to control him. I need to control myself. So that victim mentality, it's a good thing if used correctly.
It's all about how you use it, right? Because we do have to go through being a victim in order to grow in a degree, right? It doesn't have to be extreme, but discomfort makes you grow.
Mm-hmm.
And being a victim is being discomfort, being uncomfortable. So discomfort, right? Yeah. Let's just jump. Train of thought lost. So we're going to jump right into what was high school like?
What was high school like? High school was very tricky. So let's go back and let me frame where I'm from. I'm from a little town in Kansas, Dodge City, Kansas. Some people have heard of like Boot Hill and Wyatt Earp and Gunsmoke and this like lawlessness. That's kind of how it was where I grew up. Now, it wasn't a big city. We had like 20,000 people. We had one high school. We had two middle schools. Everybody knew everything. The only reason that town existed is because we have two of the largest beef packing plants in the United States.
Okay.
There were jobs there that people could do without having a high level of education, and they can make good money. So the town existed. But if you didn't come from a family of wealth, if you didn't come from notoriety, then your possibilities and opportunities were very limited there. There was already a social stigma based on us. And once you did something, you were forever labeled that. And getting out of that label was like an act of God.
Yeah. Dude, that just made me recognize. I grew up in a small town, and like, that's so true. Like, once you do something wrong, you're labeled as the bad person.
Mm-hmm. Unless you have money or resources that you can utilize to get out of it. But my family didn't have that. We didn't have the notoriety, the resources. Like, my mom was the director of a library for the junior college. My dad was a power plant operator. Like, they didn't rub elbows with the rich and the elite of the town. The only reason I got to play sports because of my victim mentality, that need to just go out there and outwork, to do more, to do better. Like, I got to play varsity my freshman, sophomore year, but that was because I was willing to do the trash. Like, I did rebounds, I played defense. It didn't matter if I shot the ball. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to stand out where I could. And that was that deep insecurity, that victim mindset is what pushed me forward. Kind of crazy when we start like assessing it and looking back. I'm like, wow, the thing that was killing me was also empowering me. How does that work?
Because it was your great escape.
Absolutely.
But we don't, until we become aware of it, we don't necessarily know what we're doing with it. And it can cause us to either spiral even further down or to outgrow it and to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do?
All of the above. I allowed it to kill me off. I allowed it to push me forward. I allowed it to put me in states of depression where I didn't think that I could. It's crazy when we try to put one label, one outcome on something that is so complex. My victim mentality, that part of me, made me do a lot of really dumb shit. but I've survived and I'm here and I have those lessons because I'm willing to be accountable. I'm willing to hold myself into responsibility of I have to use those things that I messed up at to help somebody else because maybe they're getting ready to go through that situation. And my story might resonate with them where they don't want to make that choice or at least see what might happen, what might go on. And then if that is about to occur, they can at least potentially make a different choice.
For sure. So at what point were you able to use the victim mentality and what happened to you to be able, when were you able to come out and share your story and the truths that you went through?
When? I would say when I was fully able to is after I moved out of Kansas. Once I got out of the shackles of the identity that people had created for me, I was so unhappy, bro. I was so upset with myself that I had let myself down, but not until I got out of the fog could I see the mirror. I had to step out of it. And we moved from Kansas to Phoenix is when I started to realize oh, I don't have to be this person. I don't have to be a victim. There are opportunities around me. My awareness of what was capable in life completely shifted.
I feel like sometimes for a lot of people, well, I'll speak for myself, right? It takes moving out of your hometown, out of the home where you grew up at, to realize there's a whole nother world out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you're looking at it, the lens you're looking through right now, isn't real. It is made up by all the experience, good, bad, and ugly, that you went through. Not to mention all your parents or whoever raised you, their self-limiting doubts and beliefs.
Absolutely.
All instilled onto you. So we go from these happy, innocent kids where we could be a unicorn in the space, right? Anything's possible to nothing's possible because you have all these limiting beliefs.
Absolutely.
And for you, it took moving out of your hometown, out of your home area to recognize and cut those chains.
Well, that was the beginning. That was the first chain that had broke. Now we don't have one chain that holds us back. We have multiple chains that are holding us down. Multiple things that we're carrying around with us as baggage. It slowly started to break. Once one chain broke, the rest of them started to fall in line because I started to realize there's more. There is more to this life than what meets the eye. And it took for me to get out. And don't get me wrong, I traveled. We traveled a lot. But I was still bound by the label, by the belief that other people had about me, about who I was. And I was allowing them to lock me into place. You ever heard the analogy of the crabs in a bucket?
Let's hear it.
All right. So you got this bucket. And have you ever seen crabs or had crabs in a fish tank or anything? These things are so intelligent. They can figure out a way to get out of their captivity. But what they can't do, they can't figure out how to work together to get out because they live in this survival mentality where they're animals. The only thing they can do is eat, exist, just get out of their captivity, just move, right? They have no logic behind what they do. Well, they start to see one of their other crabs start to get out of the bucket, and he's right there next to him. Does he lift the crab up or does he grab his leg in desperation because he sees a way out and only thinks about himself to move himself out?
Pulls him down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you were saying that you traveled a lot, but you always had to go back to that character that your environment made you.
Absolutely.
Or you felt like you had to be in that environment.
Absolutely.
Now, with all the tools, strength, knowledge, and work that you've put in on yourself, do you think you could live in that same environment but be the new version of you? Do you think you could morph?
I don't think so.
No?
I think that environmental influences have such an impact on us. I would either do one of two things. I would self-isolate to not be around the poison, or I would fall back into old habits.
Okay.
It's
a good, honest answer.
I would love to say that, yeah, I could go in and change culture. And I don't doubt it that I would make a valiant effort towards it. But there's one thing that I came to the conclusion of after my 20 years of management and coaching and all of that stuff. You can't change people. People choose to change themselves. Now, as a coach, as a trainer, we provide all of the information available, but I cannot make the person do anything. Can't make them pick up the fork and put the right food in their mouth. I can't make them flex their muscle tissue. I mean, there's stimulants, there's ways to go about it, but our society might deem that as inhumane.
Right.
But at the end of the day, me learning what I had control over and what I didn't is what mattered the most.
Okay. Let's take a few steps back, and I want to hear about your basketball career. Did it end in high school?
Or it did.
Okay.
It did. So I stopped playing basketball after my sophomore year. I had lettered again, and everything was going great. Like, I had started to get like hits from scouts, nothing big or anything, small towns, small junior colleges like that were interested. They saw my hard work, and like, I was like, yes, go to these camps. I'd get people talking to me. They wanted me to like go look at their program. I was like, basketball is going to be my dream. Well, in high school, when you're a jock in a small town, you get a lot of notoriety. And because I was the wild, the defensive flair like that, I got attention from girls. And I met my first girlfriend. She was a junior when I was a freshman. And little did I know the games that girls play on boys. And because my dad wasn't around, I didn't see the interaction between my mother and my dad. I didn't have that example of what love actually looks like. I just saw my dad being self-sacrificial so we could have things. So I had no example of a father except what I saw in like scouts and a few other things. And let's just be honest at this point. When guys get in groups and there's a lot of testosterone and a lot of like fractured identities and the need to prove themselves, guys do some really crazy stuff to try to prove that they're the best. That was the example that I got. That was the bragging about the girls. That was the beating of the chest that I have X amount of girls, or I have this, I have that. And it created stipulations of which I thought that I should live up to. So that first girlfriend, she wrecked me because I didn't know the example of how to handle a relationship. And I fell head in full in love, like lost myself. My whole identity was attached to this girl and being this jock. She was a cheerleader, blonde, 4'10", like tiny green eyes, like everything you could possibly imagine that you would want. Not what I needed. Destroyed my life. She cheated on me a lot. She played mind games with me. In fact, I found out later that her parents were more frustrated with her than they were with me, even though that they treated me like shit, because they were mad that she kept pulling me back in. I would go to leave, meet a new girl, do something like that. She would see that, become insecure, pull me back in to try to control me. And it wrecked me. I went to my coach after my sophomore year. And we had practice and I had a job and I had all of this stuff. And he was frustrated that I wasn't committed to the basketball because it reminded him that he wasn't good enough. There's that insecurity. Well, instead of him finding out what was going on in my life, I went to him to tell him about the problems that I was having. Now, little add into this, pharmaceutical industry was very wicked at the time. This is about the time when they were pushing all of these antidepressants, antipsychotics, all of these like drugs out. And it was all in test run form. And because I was from a little town and the doctors needed money, The pharmaceutical company found doctors that were willing to take their trial drugs, take a stipend from it, put the patients on it, have them come back weekly, bi-weekly, get these test results and send them back to these large companies to see what was actually happening. We were human guinea pigs. I was one of them. I was 16 years old on Trileptal, Abilify, Effexor. And every couple of weeks, they were just upping the dosage, upping it to the point that I was a zombie. And I go to my coach, the person that for a kid, your dad's not around, or even if he is, you spend more time with the coach than you do anybody else, right? All right. So why is it when I go to the coach to tell him what's going on and I need help, I need guidance, that he told me that my problems aren't any worse than anybody else's, that I just needed to suck it up and show up to practice? Wow. It's not what I expected. It's not what I wanted to hear. It's not what I needed to hear. Maybe there was some truth to it. If I just showed up to practice and stay focused on basketball and not girls and not a job and not all this other stuff, then I would be successful. I'd be successful at basketball. I'd be successful at making my coach look the best. And that's all that mattered in his mind. And I didn't realize this till later in life. Like, we go back to that thing about control, and I can't make anybody make a decision.
Yeah.
But that's what's reality happening, is people are living their own experiences, and they're trying to, at least, other people to fit into their reality, and it doesn't work. And it causes conflict and frustration and suffering.
That's also the old mindset, or that mindset that's still around for men and military personnel. It's getting a little less this way, but it is still like, men don't cry, suck it up, rub some dirt on it and get back out there, right? So it sucks that your coach hit you with that at such a prime time in your life, which is also, it very well could be the blessing you needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's just say you made it in basketball. What if you had an injury that took that dream away from you? Who knows where your mentality could have been, or where, if you'd even still be here, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe that was a blessing to lead you to your true calling of where you're at today.
Well, and I think that's where I go back to, I'm grateful. At one point, I was bitter. I was upset. I hated my coach. I never wanted to be a coach like him and shit like that. And well, that helped me.
And it was all his fault, not yours.
Right. I was just a pure victim.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine that. I didn't do anything wrong. Oh, bullshit. Bullshit. It was my responsibility. It was my responsibility to show up and to recognize and to see things for what they actually were. But I didn't have the experience yet. And if I hold myself accountable to something that I couldn't be back then, I'd be victimizing myself right now. But if I'm grateful for being able to look back and see the lesson, to see what happened, why it happened, and to learn from it, it allows me to be a more capable man today.
Absolutely. So where did you go after high school?
Where did I go after high school? I went to jail.
Ooh.
Yeah, right?
That sounds fun. Let's hear about it.
So after my coach told me that I wasn't good enough, it didn't matter, I quit basketball. And I found out once you quit something like that, you lose support from people. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see the friends that I had played basketball with since 5th grade all of a sudden not want to talk to me anymore. What? But we've known each other. Now that doesn't matter, because now we don't identify as the same group. You don't play basketball. You're not a sports guy. You're not a jock anymore. You're an outcast. Oh, shit. Talk about reality check. Talk about identity fracture, destruction. Who am I? Well, you know who was there to accept me? The gang members. The guys that were up to no good. Because I didn't feel like I was any good. I felt like that's where I was accepted. And they treated me with respect. Come to find out, it works out really well in your behavior if you have a well-built white guy in the group. You can get out of some things. And I got used for that because I didn't have self-worth. Because the person that I thought that I was got destroyed from a choice that I made, whether it was good or bad, it is indifferent. The truth is the person that I had built, the person that I believed that I was, didn't exist anymore. And now there was a giant gaping void of who that is. And I allowed somebody else to define that for me. You are this. Well, pop culture at that time, music, gangster rap. Okay, cool. I'm listening to this message. I'm consuming, sell drugs, rob people, beat people up. What you said with the military, don't cry, be strong, be aggressive, be a man. I can do that. I'm powerful. People respect me where I'm at now. They see the force that I bring. I can make fast cash. I can move drugs. I can get away with stuff because I look white. Well, I am white. But in reality, I formed into something that people told me that I should be. And I got some validation from some people that were also very insecure, that didn't have direction, and that were getting direction from the same place that I was. Recipe for disaster.
Sure.
Formulated by an organization that needed us to go to jail. But we didn't see that. We didn't understand how complex these systems are until we get older. Now that we're older, we have the ability to reflect back. Now, if I'm not a victim, if I'm looking at it from logic, I can start to see what are the patterns, what's going on. How is it affecting me? How can I respond more effectively so we can have more benefit to productivity towards a life that we can all be proud of?
So as a high school graduate, where was your mindset at when you were in jail?
Survive. Get the fuck out of there. Figure out what I did. Shit. The people that I believed in, they're not here anymore. The people that I trusted, they're not here anymore. Oh, I'm back to that same spot I was when I stopped being a jock. Shit. I invested in the wrong people again. Now what? Oh, prove that you didn't do anything wrong. Get out. Okay, did that. Couldn't prove anything. It was all hearsay. I was just a menace in our society. And I had built a good reputation for myself to do the wrong thing, which made it easy for them to come and say, you need to go be evaluated. Time for you to go. Shit. All right.
So did you change your mindset and the group that you hung out with after you got out of jail? Or did you go right back?
I did to a certain degree. I had more boundaries.
Okay.
I didn't invest into them. Did I still talk to them? Yeah, of course. They had stuff that I wanted. They had drugs. They had things that made me numb the pain. Stuff that made me not have to take accountability. But I didn't invest my time there. I invested my time in other people that still shared the same archetype. They just wore a different mask.
Right.
But they made me feel comfortable. And as I started to realize in this, I had stopped working out. I had stopped doing all of the things that made me grow, those uncomfortable things. I sought comfort because I was broken, because I was so lost in who I thought that I should be. I didn't know who that even was anymore, what it should be. I just sought comfort. And in reality, I should have sought the uncomfortable moments.
For sure, but that's easy to say looking back, because in the moments, even right now, you don't necessarily want the uncomfortable, even though you know that it's where you're going to grow and how to achieve more in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where would you say your rock bottom was?
Ooh, which rock bottom?
Whichever one you want to speak of.
I don't think that there's just one. I think we find ourselves in these make or break moments.
Which was the initial rock? You've hit rock. We've all hit rock bottom before, whether we recognize it was rock bottom or not, but it didn't instill change in us. What is the rock bottom that instilled the change to become the person you are today?
Today. Oh, man. The most recent one is when my dad died. That was the moment that I knew what was going to happen, but I couldn't stop it. A lot of the other rock bottoms were moments that I didn't see coming. Kind of crept up on me and like, I gotcha.
All right.
I mean, I should have saw him coming because I was being a dumbass. I was doing things, lining just straight up for that. But I was
Other people get caught, not you.
Yeah, like I was totally ignorant, naive, stupid. But when my dad died, that's the one that really checked me. I'm an only son. I'm an only child. The one that I looked for guidance, for stability, for support, even later after we mended our relationship, and was the one that rocked me the most. That made me question if I was capable to be the man of the family. A lot of responsibility just came in. And the night that he died was not an easy night. It wasn't like he just died and went to sleep. I sat next to him that day and I finished this book, Legacy Defined. This book here was solely about him in a way, about figuring out who we want to be. What does legacy actually mean? Like, this is the philosophical concept for me of legacy. Like, why is it so important? Why are the actions that we take so important? And it reminded me with him that he showed up. He did whatever it took all the time to provide the best that he could. Even if it was like stuff that he wasn't capable of doing, he still fucking did everything that he could to make sure it happened. When he died, I reflected on him and who he was and what his legacy was about, to find strength in myself to pull me out of that rock bottom of like, what are we going to do now?
I'm sorry you had to go through that, and I'm grateful that you chose it as an opportunity to better yourself than to allow yourself to spiral and go negative. However, the little bit that I know about you, that's not the rock bottom. Because, and I say this, if I remember correctly, you said there was one point that your dad finally told you that he was proud of you.
Yeah.
There was a rock bottom before then that made you become that version of yourself that made your dad proud of you. That's what I want to know about.
That one.
Hey,
so
I love you, bro. And I'm so grateful that you're strong enough to share this story. I can see it's hard on you. And I want to acknowledge that you're doing a great thing.
I appreciate it. This story isn't one that bothers me to tell. The one that really rocks me is my dad. That's the one, like, everything that I had done up to that point was to try to get his approval. And then once he died, I finally got his approval. And now it's like, now what? That's a rock bottom that most people just can't come back from, of trying to figure out what's next. The story that you want to hear is the story of when I tried to kill myself.
Can I pause? Because I do want to hear that, but I think I need to relate with you a little bit, right? Everything I'm doing is to make my parents proud of me and happy. The fucked up part is that they are. I just don't feel it and see it the way that I need to. And I'm missing out on the blessings of still having them in my life, because I'm striving to be this version of myself that they're so proud of and grateful of. That, like, I shared my dad about my last Sandbox event and being awarded a check in front of everyone. And he's like, wow, son, that's amazing. You should be so proud of yourself. And it's like, I don't feel it. I don't know why. I don't feel worthy of being proud of myself, because what have I done? Anybody could be where I'm at doing what I'm doing, but they're not. It's me. Like, what is it going to take for me to recognize and feel that love and pride from my parents? What do I have to kill within myself that's holding me back from accepting their love the way that they're able to show it?
It's interesting that you use the words kill. What if it's not something that you have to kill? It's like the whole victim thing that you asked me. I don't want to eliminate it because it's a part of me that drives me. and eliminating that part of you would rob you. However, being grateful for yourself, building yourself, growing that part of yourself, I think is your opportunity to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I got to check. Someone saw something in me that I'm doing something about something that they see enough to invest in me. You're right. Anybody could be doing this, but not many people are. In fact, forget everybody else. The only person that steps in front of the mirror every time that I step in front of the mirror, it's me. And I did this. And a few months ago, I didn't know that I could. A year before that, I didn't even think that this would be a possibility. Now look at where I am. Someone gave me a check. And this is just the beginning, because as I reflect back, I can look at the incremental steps that it took for me to get to this check. Now, if I recreate those steps and improve upon them, I can get a bigger check. It's proof. But if I didn't feel good about who I was, if I didn't have a little bit of a victim inside of me that I let myself down, but had that cheerleader inside of me too, it's like, you can do it. You can do better. You got this. Yes, Josh, he's the best. He can't do it. No one can. But that little mind, that little cheerleading group inside of me, if that's not going off, if all I got is the coach saying, you could have done better. You could have done better. This is our opportunity. This is our opportunity. If those two dichotomies don't both exist at the same time, you're never going to get anywhere.
So you're saying instead of killing off, I have to awaken the other side.
Absolutely.
I'm still going to defend myself and say I got to kill off what's got that other side blocked.
Why don't we utilize that part to waken the beast? Why doesn't that be the call that grows that side of you that shows up and says, my victim alarm is going off. It's time for Josh Man to arrive.
That fuel's still going to the wrong narrative. And I need to ignite the other fire. And instead of playing the victim, which has came up a lot in the last two podcasts, so clearly there's something victim inside me that I need to.
We all have a victim, bro. If you stop being ashamed of being a victim because that made you vulnerable, because that says that maybe you're not a man or some fucking superhero that we falsely created to make ourselves feel okay. Maybe that when that victim goes off, that's the bat signal. I hate Batman, but shit, he had it going with the bat signal because that showed that there was a victim. And that's what your victim inside of you is a bat signal. Unfortunately, Batman's not showing up because he doesn't know it yet. So you have to grow that. It is your responsibility to grow that.
I am my own Batman.
You are.
We all are our own Batman.
Are you your own Joker too, though?
To the nth degree.
So once that we accept that we are both. We are our own Lex Luthor, our own Superman. We're our own Batman. We're our own Joker. That it's just two different perspectives, but in reality, two different choices. Batman could have become a supervillain. He could have. He was robbed of his parents. They were robbed. They were killed. They left poor Bruce Wayne, an orphan child with a badass butler and a lot of money. He could have used that the same way Lex Luthor did, used it to try to dominate and control and use his insecurities in a way that weren't beneficial. Batman could have been just like the Joker and fucking went out and hurt a whole bunch of people just to prove that he was good enough. But he didn't.
Because he chose the hard path. And it's harder to do the right thing, I feel like. It's easy to be, well, woe is me, to be the villain, to hurt back.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt people because misery loves company.
But why else? Why would a hurt person hurt somebody?
Because it feels good not to be the only one in pain.
I would agree with that. I would also say that because that person is being somebody that they wish that they could be, it's easy to hurt them. It's easy to stop them so it doesn't remind us that our inadequacies are showing. Whether anybody else can see it or not is irrelevant. All the thing that matters is what's going on inside of the self. And that's where we go right back to what I was talking about earlier with my coach. I brought him problems that reminded him that he wasn't doing a good job as a coach and mentoring me. So what was the easiest thing to do? Hurt me so I would leave.
I just want to counter that because, I don't know why, but when you say that, I feel like you're still allowing yourself to be the victim instead of recognizing you weren't the player that coach needed. Why is what you were bringing to him brought up his insecurities? Respectfully, that's probably all he knew. That's probably what he was taught to.
Yeah, I don't hold resentment towards him. All I say is the action of which it actually is. Being aware of what's actually happening. My problem, my situation was a reminder for him. The way he chose to go about dealing with it was on him. That's him. I can't take responsibility for it. I can only take responsibility for myself and then being able to assess the situation and choose to do something different in the future. Because all of those experiences are just that. It's a memory bank for us to reflect back on and say, all right, I handled it like this. This is the outcome that came to be. In this situation that I'm in right now, if I replicate this, that's probably what's going to happen. Is that what I want? No. I need to handle this differently. Where else in my repertoire of experiences in life can I utilize this to help me make a better decision, better choice, to get an outcome that is aligned with what I want? Make sense?
Absolutely. Let's go back now to your rock bottom, your suicide attempt, or your suicide ideation, wherever you were at with it. Can we hear that story?
Yeah. So I had just left Walmart. Hey, my big career running stores and teaching, developing, doing all these amazing things with a company that I thought was too big to fail. Boy, was I wrong. In fact, I thought the corporate giant Walmart was the most stable job that I could possibly have. I was doing exactly what my dad taught me to do. Go get a stable job, provide for your family, sacrifice yourself for their outcome. Cool, I did it. Now what? Oh, my wife wants to leave me. My kid takes care of me more than I take care of her. I am unfulfilled. I have lost 100 pounds of muscle. I look in the mirror and I'm not proud of the person that I see. I have gone against my morals and values and everything that made me proud of me. I've given it up for a paycheck. And now Walmart just told me they're going to shut my store down. And in 15 minutes, they're going to tell the rest of the world that we're going to shut down 150 stores. And the people that trusted you, that worked all night to make sure this store was great, is going to find out from somebody else. Oh, let's not forget the fact that you're the only white manager in an all-black neighborhood during the height of Black Lives Matter. That just, social circumstances during that time period plays an effect on us in which some of us would like to negate. We'd like to put off that environment has influence on the way we feel about ourselves because it's convenient. But the reality is during Black Lives Matter, when it first kicked off, it was scary. It was a division of pitting people against each other, what made dealing with circumstances rather unfavorable, dealing with people rather distasteful. my fear broke me. I started to lose my shit. I laughed in the meeting that people were bawling, and I rose to the occasion. I went and I helped get everybody transferred out and whatever, right? Felt great. Then my wife got an opportunity to move to Phoenix. We lived in Wichita at that time. Cool. We moved here. I got transferred to another store, started to realize opportunities existed around me. There was more to life than what I had led to believe there was. That's when my identity started to crumble. That's when I started to really question who I was, what I had been doing. Had all of the choices that I had ever done led me to a point of discontent? Absolutely. I hated myself. I realized that I had let myself down. That when I looked in the mirror, the guy that was proud of his body, that had worked his ass off to potentially compete, had completely let go of all of those ambitions. Absolutely. Did my wife love me? No, she didn't. She loved the idea of who I used to be, the person that she fell in love with, that I just fucking let go of because it was time to get a job, that I worked all the time, that we had no connection, that we had no intimacy, that I had put providing income over everything else. And I'm aware of this. Shit. Now what? Well, my dad gives me this book. It's Larry Scott Adams. He wrote the cartoon Delbert. It's how to lose at everything and still win big. And he talked about all of these like things that he went through in his life and how hard it was. And that he wanted to be a comic artist, but he was a bank manager. And everyone told him that he was stupid. Shouldn't do this. But it's not what he wants. He wants to do this. He has this calling, this earning to do this. Well, one time he was flying and he sat next to a CEO of a screw company. And the CEO told him that you are responsible as an entity to yourself, and the agreement that you made with the company that you work for, they're their own entity, and it has to be mutual. If it ever becomes unmutual, it's your responsibility to do something about it. And he realized that he had sacrificed everything for this bank company and he was living unfulfilled. They weren't upholding their end of the bargain. It wasn't just about a paycheck. It was about other stuff. And that's when it rang with me. That void, that hate that I had for myself was that same that was holding back Mr. Adams. I was like, shit, I think I need to leave Walmart. I listen to that book like every day. And going into Walmart one day, I caught pneumonia. I was working in the freezer. I was a specialist with inventory, and I was in the freezer department fixing it, getting the inventory right, because nobody wanted to go in there. It was too cold. It was like an ice cream freezer. So I did what I did best, and I just manned up and did it. Well, it caught me pneumonia. And when I called my boss and told her, like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to come in. You're going to have to get somebody else. She told me, if you don't come in, I'm going to have to write you up. We don't have anybody else. And that's when I broke. That's when the rock bottom actually hit. I realized that I had lived a lie, and the people I invested in were just like the people that I invested in throughout my childhood. Sports. I stopped playing sports, and now I'm alone. Gangs. I stopped fucking participating in the bullshit, and now I'm alone. Work. I stopped being suicidal by just committing only to my job, and I start seeing self-worth, and the way they're treating me isn't respectful, and the only way I'm going to get respect is if I respect myself and step back. Shit, I'm alone again. And the people that I love and wanted to be around me, my wife, my kid, my family, didn't want to be around me because the person that I had become to do this job, because I didn't respect myself, they couldn't respect me. Now I'm really alone. Because there's no real resources out there for men. And the whole message was just be tough, be this, be all these things that I can't be. I was ready to go. In that process of being ready to go, my wife found me. And being the spicy Latina that she is, she stepped in and stopped me. And then gave me the accountability that I needed to remember that I had a responsibility, not just to our daughter, not just to her, but also to myself to show up. But I had made a commitment because she knew how I worked. I had committed to her to provide these things, these experiences, and all this stuff that I couldn't get out of my commitment. I had to show up. Shit. And then as the home run hit, then she brought in our daughter. What's the example that you're setting for our daughter? What is she going to live her life if you kill yourself? How is that going to look for her? My dad gave up. I should give up. Fuck. I don't want that for my kid.
Sure.
And then that's when the rock bottom started to be the bounce back. Now, earlier we had talked about other rock bottoms. But I think that they're just the reminder that stop us, that allow us the warning sign. Like my dad died. I had overcome this other rock bottom. I knew that I couldn't go back to that. I could only utilize these pains to project me forward. But if I wouldn't have had that moment of where I was ready to give it all up, to let go, but that somebody would trust in me and believe in me and show me that I could recognize it and rise to the occasion. And if I did, what would have come from it? What came from it was an amazing company that we started with that has led us into this right now. We went from personal training and image consulting to hosting events, to having podcasts, to helping my wife create the dream that she wanted, that I promised her that I would help her create. But it wasn't through working at Walmart. It wasn't working at a distribution center. It wasn't doing any of these corporate jobs. It was investing in myself, holding myself accountable, not letting the rock bottom moment define me as a loser, but as a story of triumph. That I could come back from the lowest of my low and then come back and bring my story to help other men get out of it, to take care of their health, to define who they want to be, to take actions in ways that align with that person.
So you think bringing your story with you is what helps you show up every day? Instead of running from that story, you bring it with you and share it in a way that it's inspirational.
Yeah, I full-heartedly agree with that. I think that our stories help us become relatable. It allows other people to imagine what it would be like for them. Now, how they respond and how they deal with it is solely on them. And we can't take responsibility for that unless we have malicious intent.
Okay. So tell me where these books came from.
These books. Wow. All right. So this one right here, this is my favorite one. This is the first one that I wrote, Legacy Choice. And when I would coach people, when I would work with people, I would go through these like questions. Who do you want to be remembered as? That's the first one I always ask. If you died right now and people were up talking about you, what would you want them to say? And usually the answer is a deflective answer. It's like, I don't care what people have to say. Okay, that's fair. I don't really care what people have to say either. But I do care what I would like them to say about me. Because that gives me an idea of the person that I want to be remembered as. And if I can create that avatar, if I can create that narrative and fully define that, it makes it easier for me to make choices that align with that. So the first book that I wrote was to help people define that. Instead of me asking these questions over and over and over again and charging people a lot of money for my time, I wrote a book to make it easy to give someone that's interested a starting point.
Okay.
Answer these questions. Oh, okay. Well, what does this word mean to me? Like the very first chapter. You go into much writing. To think the person that couldn't read or write wrote a book. And I'm on like 4 or 5 now, actually. I have like 3 more ready to publish.
It's awesome. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. So in the beginning, we look at who we are right now. Who is that? So we understand where our starting point is after we have defined where we want to end. So once we define where we want to end, we can work backwards. Well, I want to be a multimillionaire. Well, what's that going to take? It's going to take me to have a business that produces X amount of dollars every month. And well, what's that take? Well, we can do that with all aspects of our life. If I want to be seen as this person, well, what does that person drive? How does that car look? What does that person wear? For what occasions, how do they show up? How does that person talk to their friends? How do they talk to strangers? We start diving into all of these things. We get a clear understanding of what that looks like. It makes it a lot easier for us to make those choices. That's what this book was all about. Defining those choices and then being able to expand on it.
Where can people find these books?
Amazon is the easiest place to go, or you can reach out to me and I would be happy to send you a signed copy.
How can people reach out to you?
Hey, so legaciesof.leadership.com or Legacies of Leadership on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, same thing. It's all about the legacies that we want to leave behind.
Christopher, I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and we'll have to have a second one for sure. Before I wrap it up, any saved rounds, anything I missed that you would like to say?
Any saved rounds? Dude, I think the very most important thing, if I could correlate to somebody, would be to slow down. Slow down. It may be uncomfortable not to run at full speed, but slow down. And if you have a feeling, whether it's good or bad, if that victim mindset like really sets in and you're like, I'm not good enough, I didn't do this, and you just start to spiral, slow down. It's an alarm. It's a bright light that's going off that tells you to stop and assess and be logical and write the stuff down. Write it down, because if we're not writing, then we're in battle inside of our head, and the identity that we've created will win. And if that identity is a victim and only a victim and there's no creator inside of it, that victim will win. It will beat you with practice. But the way to go around that is to write out your thoughts so you can logically look at it. You can logically sit here and say, this doesn't align with the person that I want to be. But you have to define that person. So define the person, slow down, make assessments, and choose better.
Absolutely. What a great way to end it. Thanks again for coming on the JMach podcast today, brother. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, bro.